there should be more consistency in certain runs and certain spots. I think I just took too much time, and I think part of that was just because I was trying to remember the notes and the chords and everything. But I think there could be more attention to a good flow rather than a consistent tempo, I guess.
Sure. And so you feel that the tempo could be more consistent.
Yeah.
And that you're somewhat distracted from the tempo for
Right.
note issues and things such as that. One thing I think is really great and commendable is that you kept playing. You know, whatever happened, whatever that you liked, whatever that you didn't like, you kept going. This is a really difficult thing to do, and to balance in personal practice is continuing to go on. You know, we'll work on our sonatas and partitas or our concerti, and we'll hit one note, and we can of course delve into that one note and give it its due time. We also need to have see the full puzzle. If we keep working and looking at that one puzzle piece, we'll never be able to fit it in, and so we only get good at what we practice at. It was really great to see you just go all the way through. One thing I want to say to encourage that process is to never let your audience, or me in this case, read what's going on on your face.
Okay.
It's hard because humans express everything on their face. But it was pretty good. And then on our last chord, there was this brief eye roll.
Yeah.
So whatever's going on, you'd be surprised what you can get away with sometimes on stage if you don't let the audience know that something actually went wrong. If something goes wrong, sometimes they don't know.
Right. Okay.
If we make a face, it'll confirm, and sometimes even just like say, "Hey, I made a blunder here." So let's not make any facial expressions. Let's start just from the top. If that's all right with you. So our very first chord. So when you have your tempo that's established, you know, your inner pulse. Obviously, all four notes aren't happening at the same time. So how does your chord divide in relation to beat one? Is it happening before the beat, after the beat? Is the top note later than the downbeat? What's the relation of those first?
I think normally when I think in my head, the top note is after the downbeat. So it's broken up into so it's like right, maybe halfway in between 1 and 2.
So downbeat is where you're hitting your G string, and then the top of the chord is coming in an 8th note later.
Yeah, 16th note. Sorry.
16th note.
Yeah, thinking 16th note.
So I'm thinking, if this is our tempo, we have ba da 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 ba da da. So then 2 of these would be a quarter. So we have ba da 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 da. Okay. Could we try this with that? Could you maybe tap off your first 4 8th notes? If you could just think in 8th notes. And if there's too much multitasking, that's fine.
No, that's okay. I'm just trying to think.
There's like 80 things to think about with this instrument. Okay, all right. So, is it possible to tap off with the foot or something?
Oh, sorry, but I guess it wasn't loud enough.
No, sorry.
3, 4.
So you said 3, 4, ba ya. So
you're right.
these bottom notes are coming in before
1.
beat 1, which is what I would encourage.
Okay.
Personally. Pencil?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sure. So a lot of these are the things that are that we should think about and make our process a lot easier if we know where our rhythms are happening in relation to the notes. So that's how I would phrase bun, bum. So I'm just keeping this going the whole time. And that's my pulse, and that's what I'm leaning off of. And with anything, whether it's, your solo, orchestral, chamber playing, that inner pulse, it's easier when we have other people with us sometimes, because it helps us, it reminds us constantly to keep a pulse. When we're doing solo work, it's a totally different ball game. We have to be completely responsible for our own pulse. If we lose that pulse and we try and get it back, I mean, mathematically, it's already the case that no two beats in our own subdivision are going to be exactly the same. If we let it go and we try and grab it back at spontaneous moments, it's going to be even less the same. And so and if we slow down or fluctuate rhythm or expand a bar or contract a bar, we want it to be deliberate. We want to have complete control of everything that's going on. So let's try to do this, and let's try to keep an inner pulse. I'd encourage. Even visually, if it's a small thing or a breathing action or a foot action even, to just try to have a consistent pulse. Not through the whole thing, but let's start again. So this here is too long.
Okay.
Trill, da da dum, bum, ba yum, rest, da 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 dum.
Okay, so less time on this rest. Less time on the rest.
Right.
Okay.
Or, or we can even let this hang over a little bit, but the rest is a little bit, it's shorter than that.
Okay.
Because it's not a chamber work and it's not an orchestral work. When we stop, unless we have resonating open strings like we do here, but a lot of times if we stop, it's complete silence.
Okay.
And we don't really want a complete hole in the fabric of the sound that we're weaving.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a sucker for analogies.
No, it's okay.
We can go from anywhere in the line that you like. I think it's really enough for the beginning not to hurt. So these 5 notes, ba-da-da-da-da-dum, it's ba-da-da-da-da-da. So the first one is twice the value of every. So it's ba-da-da-da-da-da, not ba-da-da-da-da-da.
Sorry, that definitely
No, it's all right. It's all right. Let's go from the same place, the D7 chord. Consistently too long. Ba-dum, ba, ba. So if you can count 3 of those 30 seconds, 1, 2, 3, da 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 da. We could go from the beginning of 3 if you like. Anywhere's fine though. So, same thing here. I'm sorry to stop. So this group of notes would be the same value as this group right here. That's why the barring pattern stops in the middle here. So at this tempo, that actually goes by a lot faster. Okay. we held it for twice that length there.
Okay.
So again, a thing, it'll help with the tempo, also when all the rhythms can come back to us. So that's basically everything for rhythm. It sounds to me like, where are you placing the chords? So we're not hitting all three at the same time, which is fine. And some artists do, some don't. Henrik Schöring's one who does. But where are you placing these? Let's say this one at the beginning of the measure in relation to the beat.
I think the bottom of the chord lands just before the downbeat. Yeah.
That's grace note.
Yeah.
Grace pitches. Great. What about things that aren't landing on the beat, like this here? It's on the offbeat of a non-stressed beat.
I guess I haven't thought about that.
Well, what it sounds like to me is that everything's coming as a grace note.
Okay.
As a grace note pickup, and you're letting the top note land on the beat.
Yeah.
And whatever kind of interpretation we choose, I think the two most important things for it are for this movement to be aware of, because if we fluctuate the tempo every time we have a chord, there's a lot of chords in this, and they're not all symmetrically placed. So if we fluctuate the rhythm every time we have a chord, we want to be a little bit more deliberate about where we place it. So we can align that chord with the top note being on the beat.
Okay.
And at least in practice, to allow that to be our modus operandi. The other thing for phrasing, when we phrase, we're choosing dynamic and rhythmic change from what is just in the ink. And in the ink, even though most editions will have it, Bach didn't write any dynamics in any of these.
Right.
So a lot of artists will put things in that Bach just didn't write. And it's been up to the interpreter, and the editors for different editions are interpreting just like we are. So a rule of thumb that I follow with interpreting a piece like this rhythmically is I imagine if someone were in the audience who were just taking rhythmic dictation of the work, I want them to be able to dictate the rhythms that I'm trying to play. I'd like them to be able to dictate rhythmically everything that Bach has had on the page. And that will, so that I'm actually communicating what Bach had written. If I fluctuate the rhythm so much that I change the rhythm, I divide a chord so much that it sounds like 2 and 2 rather than a progressive 4-note chord, I'd like the scriber to be able to write down the rhythm. And there's a lot of room in that, but that's sort of my interpretational limit while having respect for the composer. What would you like to, if you were to change anything or to improve anything for this, what would it be for you?
For what I want to improve on with this? Oh, probably rhythm. I feel like I lack greatly in understanding the rhythm, and not for lack of trying, but I think, when I'm playing, what I think in my head and what comes out of the instrument are two different things. And so I've been trying to work on the rhythm with this, but it's not always that successful. So.
Well, it sounds beautiful.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And this is, this is really nitpicky.
No, I understand
stuff.
that, and I think it's important to be nitpicky. I understand what you're saying with the rhythm, though, because I've been trying to work on the rhythm, but for some reason it always just goes over my head.
Everyone who's ever played this deals with all the same stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And so when we hear a recording, rather than just using the notes on the page, the recording gives us almost like phrase and musical biases for our favorite recording. And instead of so we're kind of expressing, Bach and Irving Gitlis at the same time. And so it's a little bit of a Achilles heel to listen to a ton of recordings, and then that's our gold standard for the work. We've done a lot with the first half. Let's move a little bit on to whatever you'd like with the second half.
Okay. I
just for some general.
This to be the second half.
Sure.
Okay, just checking.